Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Today is kind of special. We are trying something we haven't done before, and we are sharing an inside glimpse into an episode, if you could call it that, of Candid Corner. Candid Corner is the live, kind of like a Q&A that I do inside our Designer Meetup Facebook group. It is a free Facebook group open to anyone in the interior design industry. It is private, however, so you do need to request access. But I started this back in the summer of 2022, August to be exact, I believe. And we started doing what I called Candid Corner for half an hour on Wednesdays. And basically, it's my opportunity to respond to any kind of discussion that's been going on inside the Facebook group, and then also to answer questions in real time. It is candid. Sometimes I have a guest. That guest shares candidly because it is a private group. So we thought we would handpick every once in a while a candid corner to share here on the podcast in the hopes that it gives you also a little kick in the butt, maybe inspires you. And of course, if you want to see all of the Candid Corners, you can join us inside Designer Meetups on Facebook. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode of Candid Corner. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Candid Corner. Coming at you live wearing some rather warm fall wear because even though it's really nice and warm outside, my office has decided it needs air conditioning. So I am now wearing my blazer. I mean, it's a lovely blazer. Can't really see it. It's lovely. Super cute. Look, it's got like little buttons, got my jeans on. Oh! But I can tell you that I should be wearing a t-shirt right now. Anyways, here we are. Welcome. Okay, we're going to dive in to Candid Corner. First, a few announcements. So, first of all, tell me if you're here. Say, yes, I can hear you. I can see you. I'm always wondering because Facebook's weird. I don't get any feedback. I just had a Zoom call inside of Power of Process. We did a bonus training, which was awesome. But I can get feedback and people can talk to me and I can hear them in my ear. When we do Facebook, I don't know, is anyone out there? Speaking of that, the first and biggest announcement is that we are changing the time that we do So I've got Power Process in my brain. I've been living, breathing it with all my students. We're changing Candid Corner time slot. I still want to come at you guys, bringing all kinds of feedback and actionable advice and answer your questions and talk to what's going on in the group and bring in guests and all that fun stuff. But we recognize now that school's back in, we started a Candid Corner in the summer. And then school came back and people were like, oh, I missed it again. I had to pick up my kids from school and take them to programs. I'm like, yeah, maybe my time is not so good. So we did a poll. Thank you to those of you who responded to the poll. Go check it out. You guys can still give me your 2 cents, but it looks like the prevailing trend is to move Candid Corner to a lunchtime hour. So it will still be on Wednesdays, and the new time starting next week will be 12:30 p.m. Eastern, from 12:30 to 1 p.m. Let's see how that goes. Continue to please give me the feedback in the poll if there's another time. But I think that probably that makes the most sense because lunchtime, people are like, can take a pause, it's the middle of the day, and you're not picking up your kids from school, hopefully. So there you go. That's what we're going to do. So that is the big announcement. I'm just going to go and check off my little list. So go and answer the poll if you feel like you would like to. Yeah, that's it. All right. that was the announcement. I think that's the only announcement. Oh, the second thing is that I'm looking to hire a social media coordinator. So if you guys know anyone, really it's a freelance part-time position to help Vera and I. Know Vera's not going anywhere, but she needs some help. We want someone to manage all the marketing and social media so that she can focus more on serving our students inside of our courses and our community here and our podcast. And it's a lot of work. So if you guys know someone who's super dynamic and awesome, please send them my way. I did post inside this group with a link to the job description, so feel free to share that. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try and do it on my phone because I can't see comments. Good old Facebook. Okay, hot topics this week. The hottest topic that seems to have popped up in the group is about contractors or builders trying to be the designer. And I'm getting hot. 1 second. And I'm like congested. What's that about? Like, oh my God, can I like get sick more often? Holy heck. Okay, hold on guys. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me because like I'm not seeing anything in my view here. I want to make sure. Oh, that's something I forgot to mention. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to find it here on my phone so that I can follow along. Designer meetups. Here we go. Okay, I'm there. Cool. Okay, awesome. Here we go. So if you're watching this in real life, awesome, please comment. If you're watching this as a replay, hit #replay. And I would like to talk about what happens in this situation. Here was a post Alexis Solomon posted. Have you ladies ever experienced this? A very close colleague of mine is working as the interior designer on a custom home build, and the contractor is questioning and undermining every decision she is making. He demands to be at every design meeting, and he's even going behind her back to meet the clients at showrooms when she has specifically explained to him why she doesn't bring clients to showrooms. Nightmare. She has presented her designs to the clients and they loved it. But he's asking for the clients to reconsider everything to his own suggestions. She's considering quitting the project, but she loves the clients. Even though this isn't my issue, I feel like it's something we could all come across at some point. Okay, I feel like so many people have gone through this situation. I have been through this situation. Now, this is not going to be helpful right now for your friend Alexis, but I can tell you that for future, this is all about setting expectations from the get-go. So, and guys, if you're watching and this has happened to you, please for sure say, yes, this has happened to me in the comments. Support Alexis and her friend. When I first started, I worked with contractors like that all the time because I wasn't that established or that experienced. And so I wasn't bringing my own contractors to the job. I was working with somebody else's contractor. And their contractor was used to not working with a designer. And chances are, Alexis, that this contractor that you're talking about probably is used to doing it on his own with a client. Because what you may or may not know is when somebody goes to hire a contractor and they don't work with a designer, like they haven't budgeted for one or they don't think they need one or whatever it is, what happens is the contractor becomes kind of their go-to to help them make decisions. Even though he's not qualified, he does have experience. And so homeowners will rely on the contractor's expertise. Now, throw a designer into the mix with a contractor who's used to being the expert, right? He's probably not keen that he's not the go-to expert anymore, so he's trying to stand his ground and show his clients that he knows he has experience. Ultimately, it's an ego issue, and he clearly has some issues with his own, I'm tempted to say his own value, because why else does he feel the need to one-up this designer? But also, he probably doesn't, maybe, I'm assuming, know this designer that well, does not have an established relationship with her or him, and doesn't trust her to make the right decisions. So in these situations, unfortunately, once they derail, there's only a couple things you can do. But in order to prevent these situations from happening in future, you need to put your foot down early and make it super duper clear what the process is of working with you and what your role is within the big picture, because the contractor needs to be your ally, not your foe. And in this situation, the contractor is not your ally. In this situation, there's a lot of this, no bueno. No bueno. I've been in that situation. It is unbelievably infuriating to have a client second guess all their choices because the contractor's there making different recommendations. It also indicates to me that possibly the clients are a little insecure in themselves and in their choices of hiring the designer. They maybe don't really trust the designer because they don't really trust themselves to make the right decision. So they could be the type of client that needs to get input from everybody in order to make a decision. You don't want a client like that because it's exhausting, right? And ultimately, it makes you feel like you're not good at your job. So in future, you need to build a relationship with the contractor. That means you meet with that trade early without the client there. You express the expectation of how you work. Then you need to have that conversation with the client. It's a lot of sort of preamble and setting up the stage for your working partnership. If you don't have that conversation, ultimately that contractor is going to go rogue, especially if the client has hired that contractor directly. Like I had this happen so many times in the early years where we would pick a tile and the contractor would say, well, I would really recommend instead, I wouldn't use marble because marble is really porous and it could stain and it's not good for a bathroom floor. You should use porcelain. To the point where I started to wonder if I was crazy. Is it bad to use marble on a bathroom floor? And I was like, no, like I've done it. Like I see designers in magazines do it. Like it must be possible. But the contractor was so convincing that my client was like, yeah, I don't know. And then it made me feel insecure in my choice. And it was just a lose-lose situation. So if you've experienced this, give us a little hells yes, I know what you're talking about in the comments, because it shows other people that Alexis's friend is not alone. But what do you do when you're in the situation and you want to move forward? There's only a few things you can do. One of them is to cut your losses. And what that means is you could just approach your client and say, listen, this isn't working out. I'm not being allowed to do what you hired me to do because the contractor is stepping in. If this is how it's going to continue, I'm going to very politely step back and let you finish the project with him. It's been wonderful working with you, but this really is not going to yield the best result and give you or any of us the best experience. Something along those lines, and you can step out. Or you could have a conversation with the contractor, which sounds like this person already has, but you could have a real, like, come to Jesus moment with the contractor and say, listen, I don't know how you're used to working. This is not how I'm used to working. Can we please get on the same page? I don't see how we're benefiting the client by dragging them back and forth. They made a decision and you keep changing their mind. Can we get to the bottom of that? Like, have a heart-to-heart with this contractor. You might get through to him. Probably you won't if it's gone this far. So then your third option is to continue working on the project. You could potentially talk to your client and say, listen, here's what's going on. I'm not going to leave. However, if I'm going to stay and see this project to the end, then here's what needs to change. Because it's in your best interest to the client. You always want to phrase it to being in the client's best interest. It's in your best interest to get the best result and to spend less time going back and forth and to encourage, your contractor to trust me. Like, I am a seasoned expert. I know what I am doing. You are in good hands. I've got this, but I can only get this if he steps back and stops involving himself in the design process. Ultimately, I just gave you 3 ways. Of all those ways, you need to pick the one, obviously, that feels the right for you, but also just keep in mind that they all involve hard conversations. It's at a point now that it sounds to me like a real serious conversation needs to happen. It may not be fruitful, but it can happen. I mean, I think so many of us have gone through those situations where I think, especially when you're earlier in your career, I think the more experience you have, the easier it is to put your foot down. It just is. I think unless you're someone who just comes out of the womb super confident in everything you do, it takes time to build that confidence and really feel that your worth is valued. And so I think what happens early on, it happened to me, is that I get really upset and frustrated with the contractor, but I would never really stand up to him. And I would never really stand up to my client. I would let the project come and then it would end. I'd not be really happy with the result. The clients ultimately were not thrilled with me because they never really felt that I was strong enough and confident enough in making the right decisions. They started to second guess. When you have more experience, or you're someone who's like just fed up and this is how it's gonna be, you tend to be the one who is really just saying, this is how it is. And I can tell you, like, once I had established my process and I started following things, I will say to clients before we even start working with them, like, we design everything in-house. This is our process and this is how it works. And if you want to do it that way, that's fine, but then we're not the right fit, or it's not going to work for us in our process. And we get the best results when we can manage this, that, and the other. Or we get to operate inside our zone of genius when we have access to A, B, and C. So it's really about standing your ground. And if you get a contractor who starts to overstep, you need to call him out the first time he does it. Because if you let it go and go and go and go, it's like you give an inch, they take a mile. It's going to be really hard to come back from that. So the very first time, and you see that the contractor is saying, well, I don't really think that oak hardwood is the way to go because whatever, you need to step in and say, with all due respect, you're not the designer. I'm the one who's worked with the client. I would prefer, if you have an objection to a material or a finish that I have specified, please talk to me directly. And you can have that conversation with the contractor and be like, listen, I want us to be on the same page for this project. But if you go to the client behind my back, it develops a little bit of mistrust, and I don't want that to happen. So please, if you have a reservation or if you have a hesitation, can you call me first and we can talk it out so that we're not doing it in front of the client? Most reasonable people will come on side. I can tell you, we had a contractor a few years ago. It was a project outside of town, and he was such a nice guy. But every time we would go to site, things would be different. Or he was like, oh, well, I told the client to do, and I'm like, why are you making, and I would say to him over and over again. I was like, dude, I didn't say dude, I said his name. Dude, you can't go straight to the client. You have to ask us first, because you're proposing that we add, I don't even remember what it was, like, I don't know, shiplap to this wall, but like, honestly, I would prefer to do this type of paneling and paint it this color. But now you've already convinced the client, and what purpose do we serve? They've hired us because they want our design eye. And like, we loved this guy. He was like the nicest freaking guy. But all he would do was try and get a quick answer from the client because he had never worked with a designer before. And he just wanted to move fast. And I can tell you, caution, caution, caution. The few times that I have worked with contractors who are celebrated for being fast, like they get in and they get the project done, every single time that trade has been the one that will go past me to the client because they just want to get a decision, because that contractor cares more about his timeline than he does the outcome of the project. And so those are the contractors you need to be super cautious of. It doesn't mean you can't work with them. You need to be super cautious because those are the ones that are going to just go at all costs forward ahead. We can't get that hardwood. It's coming in 2 weeks. Okay, reselect. Right? And that's also part of why it's important, I think, to make the design decisions before you start construction, so you don't encounter delays that will then alter the design. Whew! That was a big one. I'd love to know your thoughts. Goodness me. Okay, we've got time for one more topic. Oh, I've got a lot of topics, so I just got to see which one is the best, most commented, most everybody wants to talk about. I'm not going to talk so much in the Candid Corners about like specific sourcing and things like that, because that's better suited to like typing it in the chat, in the comments underneath the post. So I don't think that's worth the time for me chatting about that. Like pre-programming Instagram posts, like that was one question that that Shadi had. I mean, there's lots of people giving you lots of options. We use Planoly. I don't think the one is better than the other. It just depends what you're looking for. Okay, what's the last thing? Okay, type a comment if you're here live and you want me to answer. A lot of questions about sourcing. So what I think might be interesting, and like tell me what you guys think. I don't know, I feel like, would it be useful to create kind of like a shared sourcing spreadsheet? You know, like maybe it's something, and maybe I do this inside my course, but where it's like flooring companies, people can put what it is, say who posted it, you know, give a little description, and kind of be like a go-to resource. I don't know, it's just an idea. And another thought I had actually was, I really would like to hear from you guys. I posted on Instagram this morning just about how I'm trying to get really intentional with how I show up here on Instagram and Facebook in life, and I can't do everything and be everywhere. So I want to get really strategic and specific about how I spend my time. And so that means I want to know what you guys find useful and valuable. Do you like these Candid Corners? Are they useful? Are they helpful? Would you prefer something different? I would love to know what type of information. What are you struggling with right now in your business, and how can I bring the experts forward to help you? You know, some things that are top of mind: pricing your services, marketing and reaching your clients, working with trades. What is it that you right now in today's market are looking to learn and implement or improve inside your own business? I would love for you guys to comment here. Maybe we'll do another post. I guess I could do a separate post, do like a little poll, throw out some ideas, and just to get some feedback so that we can use this Facebook group for good and to help you. We've had, like, I don't know, so many new members, people who are coming from the podcast. I know the podcast gives a ton of information, but it's not interactive, which is why I started doing Candid Corner, because I was like, well, at least in Candid Corner, people can type and I can respond in real time, or even if it's just like commenting on what's going on in the group. Whereas with the podcast, it's just me talking, hoping it resonates. So let me know what you could use some help with so that I can come on here and help you out. That's it. That's all I've got for you guys. I hope that was super helpful. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week. New time, same place, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll try that out for a few weeks, see how it goes. I will be taking a week off from Candid Corner because I'm going to High Point Market. So I will not be showing up live that week. We'll let you guys know what's going on. Let me know if you're going to High Point. I'm trying to figure out what events are happening, and I'll post in this group and say, hey, if you're at High Point, let's meet here and like do a impromptu, informal designer meetup. That's all I have. Okay, guys. I hope that was helpful. I'll see you soon.